They came to conquer Earth but stayed for dinner. That was the first line written in the Galactic Tribune the day everything changed. But before the universe knew him as the chef who ended the cosmic wars, Miles Anders was just a human cook trying to pay rent in a half-broken food truck, parked behind a neon-lit gas station on the outskirts of Neo-Tokyo. Miles wasn't a hero, he wasn't even particularly brave. What he was, however, was obsessed with flavor, with texture, with the quiet symphony that came when the right spice met the right heat. He'd inherited that obsession from his grandmother, who once told him, if people shared more meals and fewer opinions, we'd have peace on every planet. He thought it was just a cute saying until the day the sky split open. It began with a sound low thrumming like the heartbeat of a dying god. The clouds tore apart, and from the gash descended 3 ships shaped like spears of obsidian. The air shimmered as heat waves rolled across the city. Miles watched from his food truck window as people screamed and scattered. Sirens howled. Then came the broadcast. This world belongs to no one now. You will serve under the Drock Dominion or perish. The alien stall. Reptilian warriors with bronze scales and eyes like molten gold marched through the streets. But before they reached Miles's block, another fleet arrived, sleek silver ships, bearing the sigil of the Illyrians, a rival species of crystalline beings that refracted light like living prisms. 2 ancient enemies, both landing on the same world, at the same time. The first battle erupted before humanity could even surrender. Buildings cracked, skies burned, and Miles's food truck was thrown onto its side like a toy. When he crawled out coughing through smoke, he saw something impossible. One of the Drock soldiers, wounded and bleeding, a dark, syrupy liquid, collapsed beside his truck. The alien hissed weakly. Its translator implant glowed. Food, human food. Miles froze. The creature was dying, maybe hours away from death. Against all logic, something in him moved. He looked at the alien's blood, at the scorch marks on its armor, and then at his cooking station. It was insane. But if this was the end of the world, what did he have to lose? He lit his stove. The hiss of the burner cut through the chaos. He scavenged what he could meat, spices, oil. As the smell of sizzling food filled the air, the alien's eyes fluttered open, its gaze fixed on the pan. When Miles offered a bite, it hesitated, then ate. A sound came from its throat, half growl, half purr. Its golden eyes glowed brighter. This taste, peace. Miles didn't know it yet, but that single dish would echo through galaxies. The alien didn't die that night. Miles stayed crouched beside his food truck, the world around him burning like an overcooked meal left unattended. The alien, later he'd learn its name, was Raycord every bite, then collapsed in a deep, rumbling sleep. Miles wrapped it in a thermal blanket and waited for the soldiers to return, but no one came. By sunrise, both fleets had retreated skyward, their warships looming in orbit like hungry vultures waiting for the next kill. Humanity was caught between them, just another battlefield. Raycord awoke, its gaze fierce but strangely calm. The translator buzzed. You fed me. Why? Miles didn't know how to answer. Because you were dying, because that's what humans do. We help. The alien tilted its head, confused. Help wasn't a word that fit easily into its war-trained mind. On Drock, mercy was a foreign flavor. But gratitude, real gratitude, flickered behind those molten eyes. You gave peace. In flavor, Raycord said slowly. Others must know. Miles laughed weakly. Others, buddy. I can barely feed myself. But Raycord was serious. Within hours, the alien's communicator buzzed with encrypted signals. He barked back in guttural tones, his tail flicking with irritation. When he turned back to Miles, the human could sense tension in the air. Something big was coming. By nightfall, the sky lit up again, not with weapons, but with descending craft. Another Drock shuttle landed just outside the ruined city block. Miles ducked behind a half-melted vending machine, clutching his frying pan like a shield. 3 soldiers emerged, and then, to his horror, another shape materialized from the opposite end of the street, sleek and shimmering with refracted light. The Illyrians had come to Raycord, stepped between them. No fight, no death, human will show truth. Miles's stomach dropped. What truth? Raycord turned to him expectantly. Cook what now? Miles sputtered. I don't even have gas, Matt. But the aliens waited both sides, weapons half-raised, suspicious, curious, and somewhere in the wreckage, Miles found himself doing the most absurd thing imaginable, cooking a meal between 2 armies. He scrounged for anything edible, some canned beans, wilted greens, a few strips of synthetic meat, and the last drizzle of sesame oil. He lit a spark, the flame flickering like a desperate heartbeat. As he worked, he thought of his grandmother again, whispering, "Peace begins when the stomach is full." When the dish was done, he divided it carefully, offering equal portions to both sides. The Drock sniffed suspiciously. The Illyrians, crystalline and elegant, shimmered as they tasted, and then a miracle. Both species froze. Their eyes widened. The tension in their muscles melted. Even their translators struggled to find words, but one phrase echoed across both frequencies. Harmony, in taste. Miles looked around, stunned. For one brief, impossible moment the war stopped. For the first time in centuries, a Drock warrior and an Illyrian envoy stood side by side chewing. Miles watched in disbelief as the two enemies devoured spoonfuls of his humble stir-fry, the faint hum of their translators blending with the crackle of the fire. A strange quiet hung in the air, heavy yet calm, like the moment before rain. Record, the bronze-scaled soldier broke the silence first. Taste is unity. How? Miles blinked, unsure how to answer. Soy sauce. The crystalline Illyrian tilted its gleaming head, light refracting through its body into delicate rainbow shards. This substance, it binds contrasts, salt and sweet, fire and calm. Miles grinned. Exactly, balance. You two should try it sometime. To his surprise, neither species took offense. They only stared at him, this tiny, fragile creature from an insignificant blue planet, like he had just uttered an ancient truth. Then came the worry sound of orbital drones above. The peace shattered as both groups' communication relays flared to life. Messages came flooding through the translators. Command demands withdrawal. The High Council orders extermination of hostiles. The truce, it seemed, had a very short shelf life, but Rako raised a claw. Enough killing we have tasted. Reason, the Illyrian emissary, glimmering like living glass, nodded slowly. Agreed. We will convene. At Human's dwelling. Wait, Miles stammered. My dwelling? You mean the food truck? Rekor thumped his chest. Your place of fire, your ritual chamber. Miles could only stare. In less than a day, his greasy, dented food truck had become the galaxy's first interspecies negotiation table. By nightfall, more ships began to arrive, not with bombs, but with delegates, Drock generals, Illyrian diplomats, and eventually other curious species, all drawn by whispers of the miracle dish. The gas station parking lot transformed into a bizarre bazaar of alien colors and shapes. Miles worked non-stop, frying, boiling, mixing. His hands ached, but his heart pounded with something new, purpose. Every new batch drew deeper reactions. Drock soldiers roared with satisfaction. Illyrians emitted a soft, resonant hum that vibrated through the metal walls. Even humans who'd crawled out of hiding began to gather, cautiously tasting, then smiling. It wasn't just food anymore, it was language. By the third day, the Galactic Tribune's drones captured the site. Sworn enemies sharing a table, claws and crystalline hands passing bowls between them. The headline would later read, Human flavor broker ends a 1,000-year war with a frying pan. But peace was never that simple. Above the clouds, in the cold silence of orbit, a different species watched the Sindar Collective, who had fueled the war from the shadows. To them, peace was poison. As Miles wiped the sweat from his forehead and prepared another dish, Sindar interceptors began to descend, silent, invisible, and deadly. The universe had tasted harmony once. Some would do anything to destroy it. Peace, as it turned out, had an expiration date. The truce feast was supposed to be the beginning of something beautiful. Drock warriors and Illyrian diplomats were actually laughing over bowls of Miles's improvised galactic harmony stew. Humans emerged from hiding, selling spices, water, even folding chairs to aliens. For a moment, Neo-Tokyo felt alive again, but Miles had been cooking long enough to know when something was about to burn. It started with the air, a cold vibration like static before lightning swept across the lot. The Illyrians' crystalline bodies dimmed, the Drock hissed, tails stiff, and then, the sky turned black. Sleek, needle-shaped ships pierced the clouds, radiating a purple distortion field. Sindar Rakor bared his fangs, the scavengers of conflict. The Illyrian envoy's voice trembled through its translator. They profit from war. They will not allow peace. The Sindar were not flesh, not crystal, they were shifting shadows, silhouettes of smoke and machine. They descended silently, landing amid the tables where food still steamed. Miles stumbled backward, clutching a spatula like a sword. Their leader emerged, a tall, vaporous being with eyes like burning pixels. Its voice was like static tearing through radio waves. The balance ends now. War is profitable. Peace is famine. Miles shouted before he could stop himself. You can't just kill everyone because you're afraid of peace. The Sindar tilted its faceless head. Human chef. The word chef came out like an insult. You contaminated order with sentiment. We erase anomalies. It raised a hand, and a pulse of energy rippled outward. Rakor dove in front of Miles, roaring as the blast struck him full force. His armor shattered. The smell of ozone filled the air. "Recall!" Miles yelled, falling to his knees. The Drock's body convulsed, smoke rising from his chest. But even dying, he grabbed Miles's arm. "Do not let the flame die." Rakor's golden eyes dimmed. Something inside Miles snapped. His grief boiled into fury, not the violent kind, but the stubborn, relentless anger of someone who refuses to give up what's good. He stood. The Sindar's energy crackled toward him again, but this time, he didn't run. He turned on his stove. Blue fire erupted from the burner. The Sindar hesitated. Miles began cooking. Fast, furious, throwing in whatever he had left. Meat, herbs, alien spices he'd collected. Rakor's ceremonial salt. His hands moved on instinct. Every slice, every sizzle was defiance. The air filled with a smell so rich it made even the Sindar's holographic forms flicker. The dish shimmered literally, as if infused with something beyond taste. Miles lifted it high. "You want to erase peace," he said, his voice shaking. "Then you'll have to taste it first." The Sindar stepped forward, and for the first time in recorded galactic history, they hesitated. The dish glowed. The Sindar were beings of logic, not flesh creatures who traded in fear, data, and the endless economics of war. They had no mouths, no tongues, no concept of taste. Yet something about the shimmering dish in Miles's hands made their forms ripple and distort, as if they could feel it. The aroma was unlike anything the galaxy had ever known. The Drock's battle spices blended with Illyrian crystal dust, sizzling together under Earth's oxygen-rich air. The heat shimmered, bending light itself into waves of gold. Miles stepped forward, heart pounding. This is what you're afraid of. People sharing the same table." The Sindar leader's voice fractured, distorted. "You interfere with equilibrium. Peace disrupts profit. Emotion destabilizes logic." Miles smirked, wiping sweat from his brow. "Then consider me a full-blown crisis." He slammed the dish down onto the metal surface of his food truck, and the impact sent a flare of energy bursting upward. Real, visible energy. The food glowed brighter, its steam twisting into strange geometric patterns. The Illyrians gasped. The Drock warriors fell to their knees. It wasn't just a meal anymore. It was resonance. Every being nearby, human, alien, even the Sindar felt a vibration deep in their core, like a melody played on the strings of their DNA. Images flooded their minds, memories of childhood, warmth, laughter, firelight, a sense of belonging. Miles realized it wasn't his ingredients, it was emotion. Cooking, he thought, had always been the purest form of communication. It didn't need translation, it needed heart. The Sindar leader staggered. Its form flickered between smoke and light. Impossible. Emotion has no code. Miles leaned closer. "Maybe not in your language, but in mine." Its flavor. The being reached toward the dish, trembling. For a moment, it almost seemed curious. But the shadows inside it rebelled, thrashing violently. "We cannot allow contamination." Before it could unleash another pulse, Rakor's body stirred. The Drock warrior huffed. Armor shattered, rose on trembling limbs. His molten eyes blazed again. Miles' flame endures. With the last of his strength, Rakor seized the Sindar leader, dragging it toward the glowing meal. The creature screamed in static as both fell into the flare. Light erupted, white, pure, silent. When it faded, the Sindar ship above fractured, disintegrating into stardust. The others fled, dissolving like smoke under sunlight. Rakor lay still. His breathing was faint. Miles knelt beside him. "You saved them. You saved everyone." The alien smiled weakly, teeth glinting gold. "No, you cooked peace." His body turned to ash, shimmering like embers fading on a grill. Miles sat there, tears cutting through soot on his face, surrounded by stunned aliens. No one spoke, not even the Illyrians. Only the gentle hiss of his dying stove filled the silence. And then, quietly, Miles whispered, "Dinner's not over yet." Because he knew Rakor's sacrifice couldn't be the end. It had to become a beginning. The next sunrise over Earth was like no other. For the first time in millennia, the skies above Neo-Tokyo were silent. No battleships, no explosions, no thunder of plasma cannons, only drifting clouds painted gold by dawn. Below them, amidst the wreckage of a once burning city, Miles Anders stood alone beside his half-melted food truck, the last wisp of smoke curling from his stove. He hadn't slept, couldn't. Around him, Drock and Illyrian survivors worked together, clearing debris, tending to the wounded. They didn't speak the same language, but they didn't need to. A nod, a shared look, a passing of tools, that was enough. Miles leaned against the truck, staring at the empty pan where the harmony dish had been cooked. Rakares' ashes shimmered faintly, as though reflecting sunlight that wasn't there. Then the Illyrian envoy approached, its crystalline body fractured but still gleaming. "Human chef," it said softly, "we wish to preserve your ritual. It ended war." Miles gave a tired laugh. "It was just dinner." The envoy tilted its head. "To you, to us it was revelation." Within hours, messages spread through the galactic network. Every major faction wanted to learn the art of peaceful taste. Fleets once built for war now ferried ambassadors and students to Earth. By week's end, a dozen alien species arrived, each carrying their own ingredients, spices, and traditions. And so, under the cracked neon sign of Miles' Meals on Wheels, the first intergalactic culinary summit began. Miles found himself teaching classes to beings with claws, tendrils, and crystalline limbs. He taught them how to stir, how to balance salt and sweetness, how to share food before opinions. He discovered, to his amazement, that each species brought something unique: Drockfire herbs that made sauces shimmer, Illyrian mineral oils that hummed when heated, human garlic that made everyone cry in the best way. Every meal was a negotiation, every dish a treaty. The Galactic Tribune wrote, "One human turned conflict into cuisine. The taste of peace lingers still." But for Miles, it wasn't fame that mattered, it was what happened one quiet night, months later. He stood outside the rebuilt food truck, gazing up at the stars. Among them, one glowed faintly: Golderdrock funeral beacon. He smiled. "You'd hate that I overcooked the rice, huh, Rukor?" A gentle wind stirred, carrying the faint smell of grilled spice. Miles closed his eyes. He could almost hear the Drock's deep laugh. Flame endures. He reopened the food truck, this time not as a survivor but as a teacher, a bridge between worlds. The sign above flickered to life, glowing through the night. The Galactic Kitchen, serving peace, one dish at a time. And somewhere, light years away, among the stars that had once burned with war, a faint warmth spread, like the first taste of something new, something shared, something human.